Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Talent Finders would like to welcome real estate broker Gail Holman, the Compass Sport and Entertainment Group. So, welcome, Gail.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to speak to you this afternoon here.
Yes, thank you. I would like to firstly congratulate you on all your achievements. So, can you share with us how your journey as a real estate broker started?
Well, actually, I'm born in New York, raised in California. After, graduating school and doing a couple of different entrepreneurial ventures, I had a showroom on Melrose Avenue in Los Angeles, and I was an interior designer. I designed furniture and did interiors. I had a factory in Indonesia and in the Philippines, so I traveled there, back to Los Angeles, back and forth. So I've always had a love for homes and, stately homes, because
Yeah,
that's the homes that I would always be working in. I worked with a lot of entertainers and Hollywood like personalities. But at some point, I was getting burnt out with that. And being born in New York and partly raised back and forth between California and New York, I decided to relocate to New York, which most people say, why would you leave beautiful weather in California and move to New York,
yeah,
right? Because I'm not a real fan of the cold. However, my mother was here and a couple of siblings, and my mother, was getting elderly and, wanted to come back here, spend some time, and, other factors encouraged me to do so. So when I came back to New York, I was like, do I open up another showroom, start interior design here? Or I've always had a passion, like I said, for real estate. So I actually just saw an ad about real estate classes, and I said, oh, let me take the classes just for the heck of it. And
yes.
then after taking the classes, I said, okay, let me just try my hand at this. And I went to an area in Long Island, North Shore, and I applied to part of one of the, brokerages there, and I did, and I loved it. And that's
Amazing.
where it started, right?
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
So
so
you
it's one of those.
you've obviously touched on, the interior and luxury interior design market. And obviously prior to you pursuing a career in real estate, you were obviously in the interior design space. So can you tell us more about this in terms of, do you believe that this actually gave you an advantage as a real estate broker, having had the interior or luxury interior design background? And if so, can you give us any examples of how this makes you different from other brokers in a highly competitive industry?
Yeah, so I really do believe it has a strong advantage because my background, even, training professionally and education was in interior design. So I feel like I have a trained eye to visualize a room or a home or a building to its highest potential. So with
Yes.
my clients, as I'm selling, I can talk to the fact of how this room really could look or how this home really could look and give them ideas of spacing and just architectural elements that I could highlight or, just help them to visualize a little more. Because I find that most clients, most people, they have a real hard time visualizing. I mean,
Yes.
they could be the most successful person in the world. They could be an artist or entertainer or, a hedge fund person or whatever walk of life, but they really have a hard time visualizing.
Yeah.
And I think that that is why this home staging has become such a popular element that helps, us sell homes or buildings or what have you.
Yes. So having exceptional and interior design experience, like you mentioned, now staging is obviously a big part of selling a property. Having the depth and experience you do have, has this given you an advantage? And can you give us any examples of how this helped you in terms of selling? So is there one particular example maybe that you could share with the audience as to how staging or how using your expertise helped sell a property?
Well, yes, I can think of one particular home here in Long Island. It was on the water, but it needed a lot of help. It wasn't, a form house, and the clients needed help with visualizing or understanding the potential that the home could be. So with
Yes.
my expertise, we went around it. We visit the house many times, showing where we could add bedrooms, where we can convert the kitchen and open it up, where they had a large family, they wanted an open kitchen. And after several times visiting the house and that, then eventually we brought in an architect, but they put the offer in on the house and it was purchased. And the long story is then they went in, architecture, drawings, and I was participating in the renovation of the house. And the house is like a beautiful, beautiful home. They couldn't be happier. But that is a couple that probably, well, I know they wouldn't have bought that home because I couldn't see the vision of what it
Yeah.
could be.
Wow, that's
Um,
amazing.
mhm.
So, what would you say some of your biggest lessons have been within your career? And I'm sure there's been many, but what sort of stands out for you the most?
Well, lessons, if we're open-minded, we learn something every day, hopefully,
Yes.
Um, if we want to listen, we can learn something. One lesson, actually, when I decided to get my real estate license, and I said it was just kind of like, oh, why don't you do this just to have it? I really didn't realize how difficult being a broker actually is. I thought, you go in a house, turn around 5 times, here's a kitchen, here's a dining room, and then you sign papers. It's
Mm,
a contract. And I had no idea how to be successful in this business. You have to really be a business person, business minded. There's some agents that go into it, they're doing it part time. Over the US, I think the average agent makes, I don't know, 35,000 or something a year. But if you really want to be super successful, you have to conduct it and orchestrate it and work at it as it's a real business, not just something that, you go in and you sell a house and you meet someone and you sell something.
yeah.
We have so many elements to do it, to
Mm,
create a transaction. I
yes.
also learned early on, they said you have to sell a house like 5 times. And I'm like, how could you sell a house 5 times? You meet the couple, they like it, you sell it. But no, you've got to sell it to maybe the in-laws, to the bank, to this,
Yes, true.
many times. So it's much more challenging than I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So the pandemic obviously turned our worlds upside down and inside out. How did this affect you as a broker? And what were some of the biggest changes you saw pre, during, and post pandemic? And what are some of the biggest changes you have noted? And how did you pivot your business?
Well, like you said, the pandemic changed the whole world.
Yes.
I actually, at that time, I was involved with a couple of developers and developments in Long Island.
Yes.
And I actually, after, a few months of everyone, just being, don't even know how to live anymore, I actually got quite busy because a lot of people from New York City wanted to move out to Long Island so they would have space opposed to living in the city, on top of each other.
Yes.
So, I could not do normal showings. I had to do virtual showings, Zoom showings. Everything was over the phone, like with everyone else. But I was able to sell a lot during that time from that. I may go into a residence and we do a video and then, sell from there. So it was very trying times for everybody.
Yes.
Um, and, fearful of catching, the virus.
Yeah.
So when we were able to start, because for a while we could not show properties, but when we were able to start, it was just very different because, in selling, you need to connect with the people. And it's very hard to connect when people have masks, gloves, they're scared to even like be 5 feet away from each other.
Yes.
But it was something that we all went through.
Yes.
And so that's kind of how it changed for me, at least.
Yes, absolutely. So that leads me into the subject of leadership. It's such a big, broad subject lately around leadership from a business and a global perspective. But what would you say, in your own experience and obviously leading your own team, differentiates you in your leadership style and your leadership skills in terms of your business and in terms of your team? And if you've got any
Mhm.
examples, what do you think
Um,
makes you different from other competitors, let's say?
Well, first of all, I do love what I do. So that to me now, it's not a job, even though, it's not an easy business, but it's not a job. So when
Yeah.
I decided to develop a team, I was looking for people that had the same passion, and it's a culture thing. I don't
Yes.
want someone to come in and just be quote unquote salesperson and look for the deal and look for the check at the end of the day. I wanted a team of people that are personable and that is going to connect with people and love what they do. So
Yes.
as I was bringing on team members, I also love helping people. So I've actually created a team of very young people. And I've
Yes.
done that because I love helping, and I think this is such a great business. So I've brought on team members that are young, that have a passion for real estate, and I feel really proud to be able to help them learn this business. Many team leaders only bring on people that make X amount of dollars, a year, and they're joining the team because with the company I'm with, you couldn't join at one point unless you made a certain amount of sales a year. But I've
Yes.
brought on people that I'm actually grooming them and helping them to learn this business, and they could have a very successful, lucrative lifestyle with hard work.
Yes.
But that's what's important to me. And we have to be able to get along well together. So all my team members, we go out, we do things, we socialize, like we'll go to, hockey games or baseball games or certain restaurants in the city, just so that we become friendly and know each other, which to me helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it
And it's
helps.
more
So
personal too.
absolutely. And, again, I'm dealing with people that are in their 20s or 30s, early 30s or 30s, that this can be super lucrative and they're just beginning. On the reverse side, they're helping me also with things that I really wasn't so into, which is like the social media and videotaping and all that. So
Yes.
together, it really helps. It works. It doesn't help, it works.
Yeah, no, amazing. So in 2021 and 2022, you were ranked in the top 1% in the height of the pandemic by the Wall Street Journal, which is an amazing achievement. So, having closed over $500 million in real estate, can you share with us more about this and how you hit such record numbers? And did this open other doors for you?
Mhm. So that was really exciting to be ranked that. I didn't even know I was being put into the list to
Yes.
be ranked. And I was told, I got a call saying, "Oh, you're being ranked." And I was like, okay, well, what is that all about? And I came out to 1%, which was really exciting because in our industry, that means something.
Yes.
It just shows your accomplishments. So that was a big compliment back to me. So that's how the ranking is, and has it opened up more doors? I think, we can promote that. Being ranked, how did I get that? Like I said earlier, I've worked with a few developers. So I actually like working on new development projects. And it was just selling. I mean, the ranking
Yeah.
comes from sales. So it was just really working hard, getting those sales and closing them is where the ranking came from, and the 500 million in real estate.
Amazing. So, what would you say some of your biggest career highlights have been? And again, you might have had multiple, but is there anything that particularly stands out for you as a real highlight?
Well, beside the ranking, most of my business, I live in the North Shore, Long Island, which is called the Gold Coast. It's where
Yes.
we had these big mansions, back in the day, the JP Morgan mansion and the Woolworth mansion and all that. But I've also, I love New York City, and I wanted to broaden my scope into New York City. And I was able
Yes.
to accomplish that last year, bringing on and having some sales in New York City. And then one of the highlights is I was able to obtain a listing there that's a building, and it's like an $80 million building for sale. So it's not just the number, it's just being able to be in that audience and
Yes,
having that
absolutely.
number and being now connecting with different developers that would acquire that type of purchase. So I have
Yes.
that and a couple of other large apartment buildings that I'm now working on. So that's kind of spearheaded me into the city along with the North Shore, which was one of my goals that I wanted to accomplish.
Oh, that's amazing. So that actually leads me into, and obviously you just touched on it, but you have an expanding niche market. So can you share with us any exciting other new projects or the one that you briefly touched on and properties? And what are your plans in terms of expansion that you are able to talk about in terms of your vision for your company?
Um, well, another exciting thing is Compass. We have a division called the Sports and Entertainment Division, and
Yes.
you have to be interviewed and have hit a certain amount of dollar amounts or transactions with either sports or entertainment people. I've been with Compass 2 years. So a year ago, I was called to interview for this division and I was able to. So I was able to from the sales that I've had because I've done quite a bit of business with the New York Islanders here and the Mets and then some entertainers that I, can't name individually.
Yes,
So
of
I'm part
course.
of the sports and entertainment division, which is a great division. We have meetings like last month I was in California with our meeting, and it's a group of people that have experience dealing with entertainers or sports people that you have to handle them a little differently than everybody else
Yes.
based on their time, based on
And I'm sure it's
confidentiality.
extremely challenging and demanding.
It can be, it can be. And it kind of helped me from my interior design background because I was in LA, Beverly Hills area.
Yeah.
So I had the entertainers then. And so that was a big accomplishment. And I'm on their committee, their acceptance committee. So I'm very involved in that division. Um,
Amazing. So, what are some of the biggest changes and trends you see in the real estate market, and how in 2023, looking with inflation playing a massive role, do you see a lot of change, or how do you see the markets currently?
Um, I think we know worldwide that we have so many different things playing that we haven't had to deal with. I mean, we have banks closing that I can never remember that happening.
Yes,
We have, we have interest rates in a year that went from high twos to now seven, which makes a huge difference in purchasing a home
of
for most
course.
because someone that could afford X amount no longer can afford that. We
Yeah.
have that. I mean, we have inflation, we have unemployment. All that said, I'm very optimistic. So
Yes,
I
of
don't
course. I mean, everything has ebbs and flows. It kind of swings. So,
exactly.
yeah.
So I don't focus on it, and I tell my team members, don't focus on it because there's nothing we can do about that.
No.
We can't do anything about, politics or the interest rates. So I feel we have to work harder. Our inventory is very low. That said, if you just think positive and work hard, at the end of the day, it's all gonna work out. That's my
Yes,
belief. So I
absolutely.
don't get crazy about it because otherwise
Yeah,
I kind
fear
of
is a
get in
bad
trouble.
counselor.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not going to help me. So I just kind of like put my blinders on and, work.
And
But
keep
I do
going.
feel yeah, keep going and keep going and keep going. So yeah, that's my feeling about 2023. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we hope the interest rates go up, then they go down a little bit and then up. So, my philosophy even to clients is listen, if you're going to wait to get to 2.5% again, then
You
call
might
me
be
in like
waiting a
3 or 4 or
long time.
5 years. Exactly. In the
Yeah,
meantime, if you need somewhere to live, I think we better get busy finding you a home.
Yes.
So that's really my philosophy on how it's affecting it. I just can't get involved in all the drama behind it.
No, best not to, because it also just creates a lot of negative energy around what you're doing as well. So,
Absolutely. And then you can't think straight because now, and this it has happened. And at the beginning, I was concerned and I was like, okay, you can't think like that because
mm-mm.
you can't do anything. And there's a lot of people that like to get involved in all of that. And I just kind of stay away because you're right. It changes your mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. So that leads me to the final question. So, what are the
Mhm.
three key pieces of advice you would give other entrepreneurs or those looking to pursue a career in real estate brokerage industry? And what legacy would you like to leave, or how would you like to be remembered?
Interesting. I haven't thought of that one really, but okay. Well, first of all, what advice I would give people, again, as I said earlier, even me, when I entered this business, I thought it was going to be easy. It is not. If you have a passion for it, a love for it, then I think it's an amazing industry to be involved in. I would, if it's someone new, I would connect with a top producer, someone that has been in it for a while and does a lot of business because that's where you're going to learn. Like, again, my team, I have new people that are just getting their license, and I have them come to the office so they could hear negotiating, they could hear what's going on and going around. You have to immerse yourself into it to really learn the business. So anyone that's wanting to come into it, that's what I would recommend. Offer your time to top producers to do open houses or to go to meetings or whatever they need, because that's where you're going to learn. You can't just
Yes.
learn from a book
No.
with this business. And as far as my legacy, a legacy, okay. Well,
Or how would you like to be remembered?
okay, for business wise, um, I would like to be remembered to someone that, works well with others. I work well with all of my colleagues. I'm friendly, I'm not competitive. I'm going to get a deal done, but I'm friendly, helpful. And as I said before, to expose younger people to this business, which we need, that's where a legacy would be that, I wasn't just chasing the dollar, looking for the dollar. I'm trying to help people learn the business so they can go on and have a lucrative and lovely lifestyle from the hard work that they contribute. So I think that that's where a legacy would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's amazing. So,
Yeah.
if people would like to connect with you, Gail, what are the best platforms to do so? Or how can people make contact with you?
I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
And then, we have our own website, Gail Holman at compass.com. I think my Instagram is Gail Holman _ real estate, or you
Okay.
could just call me. I still
Perfect. So
answer
they
the
can get
phone.
your details through your websites and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Well,
So,
thank you so much for joining us today and for all your insight into the real estate market and your journey and, sharing your story. And hopefully we can have you back in the future to see where you are. So thanks
oh,
so
well,
much for
thank
joining.
you. I'd love to do that. And thank you for having me.